Okay, so next is a stretch. For throwers, especially pitchers, hip mobility is imperative. That's what we're going to get that coil, that rotation, so that we can build up as much power as we can to be able to throw harder and throw safer. So this is one of my favorite hip stretches. We call it the modified hurdler stretch. What we're going to do is we're going to bring one leg into the front, curl it around, and curl the second leg back. This is the traditional hurdler's position, but instead of that front leg being out straight, we're going to curl it in. So the direction that you need to pay attention to is everything's going to stay inside the shin bone. Guys that are not very flexible, or actually let's say guys that are flexible, should be able to sit up straight and not have to hold themselves up in this position. But when they're not flexible, they're going to be leaned way off to one side, more especially to the side of the front leg. And that's going to show because their hip mobility is not very good. So we want to keep everything in a straight line when we do this stretch, and the shin bone we're going to try to stay within that shin bone when we go forward. So the first motion we're going to do is to try to bring the hands forward straight in front of that leg and hold that position. We're going to hold all of our stretches for 60 seconds. If you can easily get down to this position, then the next goal will be to get the elbows down to the floor. Again, staying right in line in between the ankle and the knee, so you don't want to be off to the side. Some guys are just not going to be flexible, so they'll have to be up on their hands. Getting down to this elbow position is going to be more difficult. And some guys are going to be so tight that when they get into this position, they may only be able to reach down to the floor, not be able to get down at all. So the most important part is that their body is straight and not leaned off to one side. So the second part of the stretch is going to be to lean backwards. Again, the guys that are not very flexible will just reach back to the point where their hands hold them up. As they become more and more flexible, you want to get your elbows to the floor. Okay, and you'll hold that stretch again for 60 seconds. Now, part two of the stretch, usually what we'll have people do is 2 times. So we'll go forward, backwards, 60 seconds each, forward, backwards, 60 seconds each, and then we're going to flip legs. So that right leg now is going to go to the back, the left leg is going to come to the front. And now I'll explain a little bit about where you're going to feel those stretches. So when we come forward, again, if you're keeping the body nice and straight, this stretch, they're going to feel that on that front leg, probably way up high in the hamstring or the groin area. They could feel it out on the side of the hip as well. Generally speaking, they're going to feel that wherever they're the tightest. Whatever tissue's the tightest is where they're going to feel it. But the vast majority, that front leg, they're going to feel it up high, almost buttock, or real high up into the hamstring. Okay? And then when we go backwards, this is quite obviously going to be a really strong stretch right in the front of the thigh on that foot that's behind. They may feel it in the lower abdominal region if they're tight, really tight. They could feel it up in the groin. But this should all be a flexibility type of discomfort. There should be no sharp pain. So if we have any problems like that, you'd want to have that checked out by a local healthcare professional. So again, 60 seconds forward, 60 seconds backwards. Do that again, and then switch feet and do 2 times of each of those, and that's the modified hurdler stretch.